Can you outrun a bad diet, or can I cancel my junk eating with exercise? This is, I'm sure we've all asked ourselves this question. I certainly have. First up, when I started off with this exercise thing, I did not even think about nutrition. I was just excited to exercise. I was excited to run. I was excited to lift weights. And nutrition did not enter my realm of thinking until fat loss slowed down a little bit. And initially, that's how I thought it worked, because I didn't know anything. So if I'm going to eat, a pizza, well, maybe running for an hour, I can earn that pizza, right? And sounds about right. Especially now when we put into context, say eating a samosa or eating a candy bar that's about 200, 300 calories, and if that's all the change you're doing, just that small thing can add up to about 15 kilos of weight gain over a year. That's crazy, right? So, does this way of thinking work? Is that right? Is that wrong? Or let's clarify. Law of conservation of energy says it works. Because eventually, a lot of things are as simple as calories in versus calories out. How many calories are you eating? How many calories are you expending? So with that lens, this can work. Sure. There's always a but. There are other things that come into play though, okay? I'm going to just stick to two. One, these are not the best calories we can put into our system. If I am going to eat ice cream every day, there is a price for that. I'm not realizing it because it's not instant, but eating sugar daily is detrimental to our system somewhere, eventually. And because we will see it only much later, we don't realize this. The second thing I realized when I did this was I started thinking about good versus bad. Exercise, good, because exercise gives me the credit to eat ice cream or pizza, which is bad. And this good and bad thinking eventually, screws with your head. For example, let's say I've earned myself an ice cream today and I end up overeating that ice cream. What would happen was I would feel guilty because I ate more ice cream than I had earned. And it eventually just got to me. I would try to exercise for longer so I could eat more that night. Not because I wanted to exercise for longer, but I would push past it and be like, when will this end? But you are going to eat more ice cream today, we know it, so might as well do more. So this good and bad thinking is one of the drawbacks of this crude strategy. So this food guilt, again, not a great long-term way of doing this. Now, how can we think about this? Eat your favorite foods, okay? Now, how much? That's the difficult question. But eat your favorite foods. And eat right about 80% of the time. And make sure you are having fun with your activity, whether it's lifting weights or playing a sport or whatever it is. You should be having fun and not thinking about it as a chore I have to do to enable me to do something else. So do these because you want to. And the other part about this is you need to figure it out for yourself. Not just about this, honestly, everything. You need to figure out what it means. So this, I'm going to run 500 calories worth, and I'm going to eat 500 calories of my favorite foods. Maybe it's something that will work for you at a certain point of time. Like when we are starting off, sure. But not be the best way. Of course not. But maybe it'll do the job. Because instead of trying to figure out what the best is, instead of overcomplicating things for us, you're paying attention to your activity, you're paying attention to your nutrition, and you're trying to find some semblance of control. Now, you have to finish first standard before you go to second standard. You have to finish second standard before you go to third standard. Except in this life thing or in this fitness or nutrition thing, it can be crisscrossed because it depends on how you progress through all of this, through this jungle. So instead of thinking about it as a long-term strategy, if it is a tool in your toolbox, if it is a strategy you try for the short term, it could work. Then later on, it might evolve to, I'm going to be perfect during the weekdays and not worry about my weekends. Sure, that's a strategy that can work for a month, a year, a few years. And Wednesday nights and Saturday nights are where I don't think about what I'm going to eat. Every other meal I'll be, 80 to 100%. Great. That's another solid strategy. Now the thing is, we need to keep figuring out what works for us. Some of these will work for sometimes even a long time. But eventually, they might stop working. Don't panic. Nothing's wrong. It happens. You just figure out a new tool, a new way to go about doing these things. So, what does this all mean? As long as you're clear that 400 calories of ice cream and 400 calories of running are not the same, because it is a lot more complex and a lot more qualitative than that, and you're aware of it and you're using it as a short-term strategy, absolutely, sure, go about it. Do what works for you. Okay? This is where you should ignore people like me who overcomplicate things. So, do what works. And as long as you're measuring progress, whatever progress means to you, great. But remember, you shouldn't change what progress means to you when you flip to a new strategy necessarily. And then the other complicated part is, unfortunately, there is a long-term cost to, say, a sugar addiction or whatever addiction, right? You gotta be aware of it and know that at some point of time, your strategy needs to evolve. So as a short-term strategy, this might work. Okay? So, hope that's helpful.